So many insightful talks, so many amazing topics to absorb throughout the day, and hopefully you're in the mood to absorb even more. So before we get started with this next talk, a reminder, if you want that additional knowledge and want to be in with a chance of winning some freebies, some ebooks, then be sure to take advantage of what our Knowledge Partners Pack company are doing. Rate the sessions, leave comments, and definitely ask questions of Raluca at the end. But Raluca, we're already eating your time. I don't want to take any more away from you. Please take it away. I hear you're here to tell us about multi-touch marketing.
Yes. Hello and hello, everyone. Also, I agree with what was said before that yes, it's been a day full of insights. I was also watching, I think, the whole day. I am now in London and it's raining, cats and dogs here. But what is very funny is that in my hometown in Bucharest, it's snowing. So actually, I'm enjoying the London rain today. So I'm bringing you a bit of sun with my presentation, hopefully, at least if the weather is as friendly with you as it is with me. So why are we focusing today on this topic that is more and more important in digital marketing? As we all know, we are in the days of increasing cost of acquisition costs for clients, and we know that the customer acquisition costs in our campaigns are increasing and increasing. It's harder and harder to get the targeted revenue on ad spend, and also we are approaching this cookieless era, or we could say that we are already in it. And ChatGPT has also made us more aware that we are living in an AI-driven digital marketing world. So, in my opinion, nowadays, in order to actually get ahead as a brand and to acquire customers at your targeted cost per sale and to get the results that you need, it's more and more important to look through all the customer journey and to look at all the touch points that you are paying for with your digital marketing campaigns and to try to optimize there. And also, in order to differentiate, it's more and more important to know your customer very well and to tailor your campaigns to his needs and his questions, actually. And it's more and more important to differentiate. So I would say that we are living in a paradox where everything is so AI driven and technology driven. And then what is more important is to actually stand out through your creative human skills. This is the main topic of the presentation today. Coming back to what is actually going on in our digital marketing campaigns, I would say that the summary of this slide is the performance max in Google Ads, actually, the magic AI black box. And I think that, yes, performance max is like the most well-known part of this, but it is something that is happening all over digital marketing. So I think that as we are becoming more and more AI driven, actually, what is going on is that in Meta ads, in Google ads, and now also in social media, email marketing, and SEO, the focus is more and more on automating everything. The focus is more and more on machine learning. Everything is getting less and less manual, and this also means less control over the results, less control over the targeting of the campaigns, and less control over the optimization of the campaigns. And when it's working, it's great, but when it's not working, we actually have a problem because everything is becoming more and more like a black box. What we are doing is that we are pushing creatives, maybe some audience signals about who our target audience is, but we push everything in this black box that is either Meta or Google. And what we get at the other end is transactions, cost of customer acquisition, return on ad spend, profit on ad spend, conversion value. And when these results are good, it's perfect. And it's good that it's so simple to actually set up campaigns nowadays. But at the same time, when the results are not good, we have very few levers that we can switch in order to optimize our results. So this is why I would say that this AI-driven digital marketing is actually turning everything into a black box. So yeah, also in terms of creativity, before we were trying, if you remember, like, I don't know, maybe even more than 10 years ago, maybe like 20 years ago, when digital marketing was not there actually, advertising was focusing a lot on creativity. But nowadays, also being AI driven, but also being very sale driven, and also taking into account the fact that the attention span is decreasing and decreasing, what is happening is that our digital marketing campaigns are looking more and more like this: 50% off sale, Black Friday. For example, in Romania, we have like 6 or 8 Black Fridays, Black Friday editions per year, and so on. We are all emphasizing free returns, free shipping. And for example, you know that some of the big brands in Europe are now taking away this free shipping, free returns, because they have negative impact on business. But just to give a context, I think that this is what is going on now, that our campaigns are easier and easier to set up and to optimize, but they are also like black boxes. Our creatives are very focused on short information and sales and discount, and we are all focusing more and more on these two little guys, two little key performance indicators. We have the cost of customer acquisition, and we have the return on advertising spent. There has been also a lot of press, a lot of bad press about the increasing costs in digital marketing. And it is true. We all see that the cost per click is increasing. We all see that the cost of customer acquisition is also increasing, because both Meta, Google, and the other platforms are starting to be more and more competitive and more crowded. And this leads to higher costs. I would also say that these AI-driven campaigns are pushing the costs higher and higher as well, because we no longer have so much control. We actually set up fewer campaigns. We don't do like we were doing some years ago, a lot of separate campaigns, each with a very separate and granular targeting and a very specific message. What we are doing more and more nowadays is a big performance max campaign, or a big meta ads campaign focused on catalog sales and on pixel and conversion event, and we are waiting for results. And this is also good on the long run, but on the short run, we are also acquiring a lot of unwanted eyeballs, a lot of unwanted visitors, and this also comes with increased costs for some users that maybe are then bouncing or are not actually into our product or service. So I think that in this context that we see, and that I know it sounds more and more like an Armageddon in digital marketing, I think that the best solution is not a magic tool. It's nothing like that. I think that the best solution is to go a bit back to the basics and to the overall overview, the actual digital marketing strategy that you have, and to look very well and granularly into the basics, into who your audience is, what your specific objectives are, and also to see what are your touch points with the customer, what are the key messages that you are conveying, and what are you doing in order to push customer loyalty, because I think this is one of the most important things. So as the customer acquisition costs are increasing, one way to actually help this situation would be to also increase our investment in customer loyalty, and to bring a higher degree of customer loyalty into our business. So I think it's very important to come back a bit to the basics and to understand that this AI tools, AI-driven marketing is there to help us. We will no longer be doing the manual things. We will actually save time, but our role as marketers will be more and more to understand what is the creative message, what would be the message that our buyer persona would be attracted to, and so on. So I think it's more strategic and more creative. This is my view on things, and more focused on customer loyalty. Coming back to the actual steps of the strategy, I don't actually cook, but I thought that this is what a recipe should look like, in my opinion. So I thought it's the best parallels. So I think the first step, as I was saying before, is to define your target buyer persona very well, and we will see in a few minutes what would be some of my best practices for this. It's very important to understand who you are talking to. And here I'm not only expecting a demographic, I'm actually looking for insights about what matters to my target audience. What is an intersection between what my target audience is looking for, what my brand or product or service can offer, and what maybe none of my competitors or very few of them are communicating that they are doing. So to try to look for some kind of secret sauce there that could be my marketing message. And then I would think, what are my strengths and weaknesses? As I was saying, I would really look at me from this buyer persona profile's point of view and try to understand what are my key advantages. Because, for example, a discount is not my key advantage. I know that when we are a well-known brand, like for example Amazon, of course people are coming to buy a very well-known brand that is 50% off if they see it in a banner on Amazon. But if I'm not Amazon, and if I'm not that, for example, household appliances very well-known brand, then it's very important to understand why the customer is buying from me. And the discount may be an incentive to push the sale, but it's never the actual reason why. So I would be looking at the reason there. And sometimes the reason is a need. Sometimes the decision to buy is generated by a need, but sometimes it is generated by an impulse. It's generated by the fact that, for example, my neighbor has a wonderful satin blue dress, and maybe I would like to look like her, and maybe that's why I'm buying that. Maybe it's generated by a combination of impulse and need. It's very important to understand the context your buyer persona is in. Do they have a date and they need that dress in order to look fabulous for the date? Do they have a presentation and they need that dress in order to look professional? What exactly is the motivation? What is the key message that would move my customer's motivation into acquisition? I would then look at my weaknesses as well. And I would see that, okay, wherever I have a weakness, I usually also have a strength. Because yes, for example, maybe I'm a very small brand, I'm not Amazon, but I have other advantages. When you're smaller, for example, you can be more tailored, you can be more into having a personalized customer service experience delivered for your customer, and so on. So I would try to look into this very, very realistically. What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? And how can I make them work for my customer? And how can I actually shine a light on them? Then I would analyze my direct competitors and what they are communicating. Whenever I work with clients at MTH Digital, I see actually that they are looking a lot at their competitors, but sometimes they are not looking at the right competitors, and other times they are thinking that their competitors are communicating something that they are not communicating. Just to explain these two cases, sometimes we are looking at our competitors as we are looking actually as the competitors that we are following and that maybe inspire us, or maybe those competitors that we think are the ones that might win our target audience. But what should we be looking into is our direct competition. And that's the competition that our target audience perceives. So here I think it's very important, as I was saying, to go at the first step and really understand your target audience and really understand where they are fulfilling that need right now. Because, for example, I was saying about that blue satin dress that my neighbor bought and is looking fabulous in it, and maybe I would just like to buy that dress in order to look like her. The competition there would actually be for me as a customer not to buy that dress because maybe I don't need it. So maybe here the competition for me as an online shop of fashion would not actually be another competitor that is selling blue satin dresses, but it would be more like my target audience's wallet, because maybe they have competing needs, they need to pay for their kids' toys and so on, they need to be mindful of their budget and maybe choose not to buy that dress. So this is the competitor that I should be fighting against and not another competitor. And the other situation that I've seen happening many times with my clients as brands is that sometimes I'm telling them that they have a key advantage, that they aren't communicating enough. And what is going on is that they are telling me, okay, but my competitor also has this functionality, they also have this service. Okay, but if your competitor isn't communicating that service or that unique selling proposition, it's the same as if they wouldn't actually have that. So, for example, in a very competitive e-commerce market, if none of your category competitors is communicating fast delivery, but you could be the first to communicate that, it doesn't actually matter so much that all your competitors have the same delivery services and they are all offering fast delivery. If you are the first to communicate this, if you are the first to communicate that you can get that dress ready for the party in 2 hours, delivered to you at your home, then you are the first to communicate to the customer and you are actually the one that is winning that customer. So as I was saying, in this recipe, we actually get and mix this know-how of our target audience with the know-how of our business, and we mix it with a very good know-how of our competitors. And what we should get from all this analysis is actually a right message. And this is step number 5 here. We would actually get the right message to communicate to each buyer persona profile and on each digital marketing channel. And this brings us to step number 6, choosing the right marketing channels mix. Here, I think it's very, very important to come back to step number 1 and understand where our buyer persona is and choose those digital marketing channels where our buyer persona is in the right context and the right mindset to pay attention to our campaign. Because, for example, if they are on Facebook and they are actually paying attention to what their friends are doing, maybe that's not the right message for me to put my brand in front of them. Maybe on Instagram, where, for example, the potential customer is more relaxed and is actually more open to experimenting new products and services, maybe this is the best place for me to introduce my brand to the customers. So it's very important to look at this. Where is my buyer persona profile? What are all the channels where my buyer persona profile is present? And from these channels, which are the least crowded, and also which are the ones whose context is appropriate for the key message that I would like to communicate. Maybe, for example, if my message is funny, maybe then a social media channel would be the most appropriate. If my message is very serious and is trying to get the trust of my buyer persona, then maybe it's more important for me to go to advertising in press, or maybe to LinkedIn, or maybe to such channels. And having this, so I have my targeting, I have my message or messages, I have my channels. It's important to look at how my key message should look like on each channel. And as I was saying, maybe a certain tone of voice is appropriate for LinkedIn and another tone of voice is appropriate for Pinterest, for example. And this would be actually my digital marketing strategy. This is actually important both for the customer acquisition stage, but also for the customer loyalty stage. Because what we actually do very many times is that we focus on acquiring the customer and not focus so much on keeping them hooked, keeping them there with us. And I think that here it's becoming more and more important, especially in this cookieless era, it's becoming more and more important to focus on customer retention rate and actually on building a community around your brand and getting your customer to have you as the top of mind, as a go-to brand whenever they want to buy a certain category of products or when they are looking for certain types of information or when they are looking for a certain service. If we are looking at this customer acquisition cost as well, we could be looking at things from different certain points of view. One of them would be to be looking at things from the conversion funnel lens, the typical well-known AIDA model, the AIDA model, and that is that each customer has to go through certain stages before they make a purchase decision. They need to hear about us first, then they need to get interested, start evaluating the decision to buy from us, and finally they get to a conversion. And this is the typical way of looking into things in a digital marketing campaign. Whenever I look at the Meta Blueprint trainings, whenever I look at the Google Skillshop materials, they are all focusing on these funnel stages. And it's a very positive approach. But I think that as marketers, and especially nowadays, it will be more and more effective to actually look at things from a relationship pipeline lens, to actually look at each customer and their customer journey in the relationship with us as a brand. So for example, let's say that this journey could take longer for some customers. In the example before with the dress, maybe we have a customer who is making the decision more slowly. Maybe they're evaluating more options. They are evaluating various colors, various fabrics, and so on. And of course, various retailers or brands before making the decision. And we also have another buyer persona profile that is actually not taking their time at all, and they are very quick and impulsive when making this purchase. I think that it's important to realize that this pipeline is sometimes longer and we have a longer customer journey, and sometimes it is shorter. But no matter the length here, I think we are also going with each of these customers through various stages. If we look at things from the conversion funnel point of view, we may have the opinion that some new potential customers are actually not getting ahead in the funnel, and we are losing them when we are going from one stage onto the other. But if we are looking at things from the pipeline point of view, we may see that it's just a process that is taking longer. Maybe they don't make the decision to subscribe to our newsletter today, but they heard of us, they visited our online shop, they evaluated our products, they remember us, they will have brand recognition, but maybe after a month or two, when they are again researching products, maybe then they will come back to us and will try to make a decision then and actually purchase. So it's very important to actually look at yourself, not as a conversion, not as a very conversion oriented brand, but as a relationship oriented brand. And to realize that no matter if the customer is buying from you today or not, they are still meeting you, they still have a brand perception, they still have a level of brand recognition or not, and your brand is associated with certain values in your communication. And it's important to look at things this way. I was saying at the beginning that the costs are increasing, and also the digital marketing landscape is becoming more and more AI driven. What is happening actually in our campaigns when we tell the algorithm that we need a certain target return on ad spend, or we need a certain cost per acquisition, or whatever, we need a certain cost per visit, what is actually going on is that the algorithm, whether it's Meta, whether it's Google, whether it's this infamous Google Performance Max, what the algorithm will actually do if we put so much pressure on it is that they will be looking at the bottom of the funnel, and they will be mixing the same audience, and they will try to get the audience that is already hot, the audience that already knows us and is very focused on buying, is very close to buying. They will actually try to get them to buy now. This may sound great as a principle, but if you think about it a bit more, what is actually going on is that there in the bottom of the funnel, we have an audience that already knows us, is already very close to making the decision to buy today. They've already seen maybe tens of our ads on Meta, YouTube, whatever, Pinterest, Reddit. And what the algorithm is now doing is that they are pushing our advertising in front of our audience once again. So what it's actually happening is that we spend more dollars on the same customer that was actually quite close to the conversion anyway. And maybe they would have bought because they already knew our website, but they would have bought tomorrow. And now I'm pushing them. I may be pushing them with an additional discount, and I'm spending more dollars on them. So from my point of view, this is not to say it's a mistake, but this is a point where I could be saving marketing budgets and where I could be playing it actually smarter. Another thing that is going on is that the same mentality that the AI has is exactly the same mentality that the marketer or agency will have when you also push for, I want more conversions now, and you are not looking at the whole strategy, the whole funnel. It will be the same thing. They will be focusing on remarketing and in getting your message forward to that audience, in front of that audience that already knows you, and maybe they would have bought anyhow. So they are looking at the low-hanging fruit. A more healthy approach for your digital marketing, and especially for your brand, would be to switch a bit and to not focus so much on the cost of customer acquisition and return on ad spend per customer, but actually try to look at both these costs, taking into account the whole customer journey. And a more healthy approach here would be to look at not the cost of the customer, but the total marketing cost for acquiring a customer and keeping them across multiple channels. So maybe you are paying for the same customer on Meta, on Pinterest, on whatever, and actually try to calculate the total amount and also look into what that customer is bringing you as revenue, not only today, but for their whole customer lifetime with you, their whole customer life cycle. So I think that this return on ad spend will evolve in the next 1 or 2 years, and brands will be looking at it as customer lifetime value per total marketing costs. And this is what we should be trying to optimize a lot. Valentin was speaking today I think 2 or 3 presentations before about RFM and also about the importance of increasing your customer lifetime value. And I think this will be definitely one of the focus that marketers should have during the next few years. And the other focus would be optimizing the total marketing costs, seeing whether we really need 500 touch points with a customer, or maybe we could be acquiring the same customer lifetime value with fewer or maybe with less expensive marketing touch points. So I think this would be the approach. In order to do this, I think we should also change our media plans. Right now, most digital marketing media plans are something like channel 1, this budget, channel 2, this budget, channel 3, this budget. And of course, this is also followed by columns of metrics that we are measuring and we are comparing these channels. But actually, coming back to the definition of strategy, strategy is not about channels. Strategy is about audience. So our media plan should somehow reflect more, not how much we are spending on each channel, but how much we are spending this month, how much we are spending this year for each target audience profile. How much we are spending for buyer persona 1, how much we are spending for buyer persona 2, and so on. And also, from the amount spent for each buyer persona, we should also be looking at the different stages that we have in our communication with that buyer persona. We have certain budget for generating interest, for generating brand awareness for that buyer persona. We have a certain budget for engaging that buyer persona. And we have a certain budget, hopefully lower and lower, to push that buyer persona into making a conversion now, today. And what is missing from this landscape is the customer loyalty, which sometimes is not actually a monthly digital marketing cost. It is usually not a paid media cost, but it should be a customer loyalty marketing cost. Like, for example, building content, building newsletters, sending personalized newsletters, sending push notifications at the right moment, and also trying to build a brand community. A buyer persona profile, I was telling a little bit about it before, should be something more than just demographics. We should have here information about our target audience in terms of what are their key values, what matters for them when they are making a decision. Is it price? Is it the fact that the neighbor has a nicer dress? Do they have a date? What matters to them? What are their key fears and motivations? Maybe a fear could be related to the delivery time, or another fear could be related to the size guide, or I don't know. What is their motivation? Do they have a date? Do they have a presentation? What is going on there? Are they buying that dress for status? Are they buying that dress to look good? What exactly are we looking at? What are their goals and challenges? Is budget actually their goal and challenge? I know it always is, but there are maybe more factors that we should be looking into. Where do we find this target audience? Where are they most engaged? And in which context, on what social media channel are they active and also open to listening to my message? What is the best context to get them and to get them to actually listen to us? How do we find out this information? In my opinion, it always comes down a lot to a bit of intuition and empathy combined with data. I think it's actually 95% data, but the intuition and empathy that you put on top into interpreting this data is also very important, and into building the assumptions needed in order to ask further questions and go to customer surveys. Where do we get this data? We get it from Google Analytics. And just a quick reminder, we have just a few more months to set up well our GA4 profiles and our GA4 views for our businesses. And this will become very, very important for you and also for the results in your campaigns. We can also get data from several other tools. Like, for example, we have the audience reports in Google Analytics that is actually giving us insights into the affinity and in-market segments right now. We could get from there information about what websites our target audience is browsing, what they are looking for on Google, and so on, and also their demographic profile. We could try to combine these segments and find some intersections there about their different affinities. We also have the Facebook audience insights, where we could also extract more insights about what my buyer persona is looking at, what are the top pages that they are looking for, what are maybe some correlated insights, correlated interests. From Facebook audience insights, you could, for example, find that a person that is interested in both beauty and fashion is also interested in sports, for example, or other such things that could show you more about what you could communicate and where you can find your target audience. Another very important tool, in my opinion, is SimilarWeb Pro, that can actually give you more insights into both your competitors and your audience. They can show for each website an estimation of who the audience profile is. Then they are giving more and more insights about this, what their browsing behavior and Google search behavior is. And also from SimilarWeb Pro, you can have like a quite real-time landscape about what channels each competitor is investing in, what are the top pages that they are targeting, what are the top ads, the top products that they get in front of their customers. YouTube suggests, social media reviews, and so on are also giving you hints about the actual language that the customer is using when they are looking for your products or your services, when they are looking for information from your category. So I would also be looking into the keyword research, whether with Google Ads, Keyword Planner, whether with Ahrefs, SEMrush, or other tools. And I would try to understand what the searches are and what these searches show about my buyer persona profile. And here I would be looking at both the high volume searches, but also at the low volume searches, because those are informational searches. Last but not least, here it's very important to look at your social media profiles, reviews, and also questions and messages from the audience, and also try to extract from there what matters to your target audience, what other interests they have, what specific words they are using. And last but not least, you should get into action with customer surveys and actually ask them some questions about what motivates them, what is the reason that they are on your website, and so on. Having this information, it will be more and more easy for you to actually understand what is your key message. And this is rarely just about discount. Your key message should be something that is unique for your business, that your competitors are not communicating, but it is also very important for your buyer persona. So we are looking at that intersection. Having a key message, the next step would be to actually adapt this message for each of the different digital marketing channels that we are using. And on each channel, you should see whether the message is appropriate for the context, if the message is adapted to your buyer persona, if the message passes your buyer persona filter. Is it something that your buyer persona desires? Is it credible? Is it relatable? Is it something that would make them push the button and actually come on your website? Or is it something that they will remember? And don't forget that the message is usually not the key message, the key communication message is not the same with the message of the ad. And we are not talking here only about adapting your message, but also you should take into account what the context of your advertising is on each channel and what is the purpose of your ad. Sometimes the purpose of your ad could be just brand awareness and building brand recognition. Other times you really want to draw attention and you want your customer to click and get on our website. Other times you are addressing an audience that already knows you, and actually your purpose is to convince the user to click on the call to action button and get on your website and make a decision, do something, purchase, for example. And sometimes maybe you're on a very crowded digital marketing channel and your purpose is to stand out from the crowd and get over banner blindness. But it's very important to have this mindset when you are crafting your visuals and when you are building your actual key communication message. Coming back to the blueprint that we were looking at before, this evolution of the media plan that we are saying that we should be using, you should realize so we said that we have a digital marketing mix. We know that we want to invest in Google, Pinterest, whatever. But also we should see from all this digital marketing mix, what are the channels that are appropriate when we want to generate interest? What are the channels that are appropriate when we are targeting an audience that already knows us and we want them to take action, for example, to join our community? And what are the channels that we want to use in order to get our customer to convert and to buy now? And it could be a mix, for example, because sometimes when people are really in a shopping mindset, you know already that they are coming either to your website or they get on Google and make a search. So here at the conversion level, maybe the importance of Google is growing, maybe the importance of remarketing is growing, maybe the importance of email marketing is growing. But when we are trying to get new audience and to get in front of new people, maybe another channel like Instagram, like YouTube, where people are trying to discover new content, new products, new services, maybe this would be the more appropriate channel. Or maybe TikTok, that is also growing a lot and that is growing in importance when people are trying to get introduced to new brands, for example. And this is how you should think when you are doing the budget split. You aren't just crafting a media plan and actually splitting your budget between channels. You are splitting your budget between several buyer persona profiles, and you are also splitting your budget in percentages according to the importance for you for that buyer persona profile for each stage in the funnel, let's say, for each stage in this journey. And maybe at some point it's important for you to allocate 40% of your budget to generate interest, because now you want more new audience to hear about your brand. Maybe at some moment in time, you know that maybe, for example, we have the holiday sales, and now it's more important to allocate 90% of your budget on conversions. And you somehow make this decision according to the context, according to your business needs in general. At each of these stages, you not only make a decision about the budget, but you also need to be making a decision about the appropriate channels, appropriate ads, and formats for each. And here in the presentation, we have a few suggestions. But it's very important to look into your customer and to understand for your customer what are the most appropriate channels to get that message across and what are the most appropriate formats, let's say, and placements for each channel. It's also very important, I would say that it's of the utmost importance to realize that the key performance indicators that we are measuring at each stage in this multi-channel strategy, the key performance indicators are also very different. If we are allocating budget for a campaign in order to gather more eyeballs, to increase our brand awareness, then this is exactly what we should be measuring: brand awareness and not conversions. It's very wrong to do a campaign only in order to get brand awareness and then measure the cost per conversion on the return per ad spend. It's important that if your campaign is targeted at generating interest, you need to measure impressions, reach, maybe view rate, CTR, click-through rate, engagement rate, and so on. If your campaign is targeted for activating and, for example, gaining new newsletter subscribers, this is what you should be measuring. What was the CTR? How many people got to my website? How many people clicked on my campaign? What was my bounce rate, which will now turn into engagement rate in GA4? What is the time on site that the average customer spent? What is the number of page views per visit? And if our campaign was targeted at a customer that already knows us, or at the customer that is looking for our service and product on Google, then yes, we are at a conversion stage. And here our KPIs are conversion rate, cost of customer acquisition, profit on ad spend, average order value, and so on. Another aspect here is that, of course, but I think it's pretty obvious already, the creatives should differ depending on the stage that the customer is on. And of course, the messages and the creatives that are focused on discounts and sales are most appropriate at the conversion level. So in a nutshell, I think that the digital marketing media plan is evolving into this multi-touch marketing blueprint, as I like to call it, and we should see how we are splitting our budget between several buyer persona profiles that we are trying to attract, trying to increase, trying to activate, and so on. And we should also be looking at how we are splitting this media plan between stages in the relationship that we have with the buyer profiles. Sometimes we are trying to get new audience, sometimes we are trying to activate the audience that we are already having, and sometimes we are trying to get them to perform a certain action, like buy, for example. This is my view about what is going on right now in the digital marketing landscape, so to say. I speak about it a lot on my YouTube channel, Digital Branch, where I have short videos, and in the future I promise to make them shorter and shorter with the rise of YouTube Shorts and also the decrease in the attention span that we all have. If you will scan this QR code, you will be taken directly to my Digital Branch channel. And if you want to find out more about digital marketing, I think it's great content there that you could use if you decide to follow me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Raluca. Very informative. Always great to hear this sort of insights. We'll hop straight into the Q&A. If you do have Q&A, maybe quickly type it down, folks. If we don't get around to it now, you have the barcode you can scan. You can get in contact with Raluca directly. I'll just hop into, I think we've got time for like one or two because we are close to clash for the next session. So I'll open up with what David's asking. He asks, how do you suggest to measure if some conversion would have been generated with absence of media? Because you mentioned earlier that there's the kind of low bearing fruit and that people go after that unintentionally. How would you track that? What kind of tools can help you identify that in your system?
I think analytics is like the basic tools. Whatever analytics tool you are using would help you with this, but you need to set up this tool taking into account the customer journey length. Because, for example, maybe the default setup of 30 days doesn't work for you because, yeah, maybe the average of your customers are making the purchase decision in 6 months. So then it's important to actually track all this time frame. And also it's important to look at how many people subscribed, how many people are following you, and from these people that are following you or that have subscribed, how many have converted.
Okay. And we got another one from Leva. We've had it before, people have their different ideas of where to go. There's a lot of talk around Google Analytics right now, right? There are restrictions in place on them, people looking for alternatives. Have you got suggestions for systems that could replace Google Analytics?
I'm looking a lot nowadays because my customers are using it into Adobe Analytics, and I think it's a viable option, especially for the bigger companies. But I will also be looking into more options for sure.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there though. Brilliant to talk to you, Raluca. If people want to reach out to you, they should have your scan. They can reach out. I'm sure you'll be completely receptive. But I won't spend any more of your time. We're gracious that you're able to find time for us, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. It was lovely.
It's a pleasure.
This is all we got. Remember the revolution in our minds. This is all we got. Lock me out of this life institution. I am angry and high on illusions. Yes, I hate, but it's not a solution. Try my best, but I'm just a human. Oh, we don't need to say we're